Starting from August 7, 2025, there will be new changes in the exam. So in this video, I'm about to buy a mock test from the official PTE website with the updated scoring, and I'm gonna do it with you from start to finish in 2 hours. Let's see if I can get 90. Now, what's very important is that during this time, during each question, in between or after the questions, I will be actually coaching you through and walking you through what is my mindset, what are the tips, what are the tricks, what are the things that you have to know. Hey there, this is Alex from Dream English. Let's get cozy. Pour yourself a cup of tea or coffee, grab your notebook, grab a couple of markers and pens, and let's actually do this together. And do it at the same time as me. I think it's going to give you a very good idea of how you're doing in comparison, and let's see what the result is at the end. So you can see here actually on my total is $59.99 AUD. In my opinion, it's a little bit expensive. So actually, if you stick till the end of the video, I'll give you a special coupon code that you can get 30% off these mock tests. So there you go. You watch this video and it's going to save you $18. We're about to get started, but first, what I recommend, if you want to find out how to do a specific question, you can actually skip straight to this question. But if you do have the time, let's get cozy and let's get straight into it. All right, here we go. So I'm in my official PTE account. We got practice test number 1. So you can see this is actually the new one that they just introduced with the updated scoring. Let's see how it goes. I'm not sure if I can get 90. So I tried to already adjust some of the strategies in advance. I've never seen these questions before, never done it before. So let's see. A 90 is not guaranteed, but we will do our best. All right, it's been a while. Let's have a look here. Click start when you're ready. Use pen and paper to take notes. Pen, paper, check. We recommend it has recommend the QWERTY keyboard, blah, 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 blah. Strong Wi-Fi connection. Let's get started. Microphone check screen, you're going to have something similar in the exam. What I recommend is to actually do this a couple of times. Do it loud, do it quiet, do it fast, do it slow. Make sure that the way the recording comes out is exactly how you're speaking, because sometimes there could be some kind of an issue. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. I'm ready for PTE. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. I'm ready for PTE. Okay, so mine is a little bit distant. Let's try the mic a little bit closer. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. I'm ready for PTE. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. I'm ready for PTE. All right, so everything is good to go. I just need to bring my microphone a little bit closer. And so we're good to go. I just need to bring my microphone a little bit closer and we're ready to go. So as you can see, introduction. Introduction is actually not scored. My suggestion, don't say anything about your visa. Don't say anything about immigration. Don't say anything about permanent residency. Just give a quick overview about yourself and that's it. All right, here we go. All right, my name is Alex. I'm planning to take the PTE exam to test if my English level is any good. So let's see how it goes. I studied for a couple of hours. I hope I pass. I hope I get 90. Hello, my name is Alex. I want to take this exam in order to test my English skills. I like to go to Bondi Beach on the weekends and I like to walk my dog. And I decided to take the Pearson exam because it seems like it's easy to find available dates to book the exam. Thank you very much and I hope I get 90. All right. So here we go. For read aloud. What's going to happen is starting from now, look at the text. It's a very short read aloud. It's not very common. But anyway, starting from the 7th of August, read aloud doesn't give points in reading anymore. So actually what's important is that you still focus on your fluency, continuity, speaking nonstop in flow without adding or skipping words. But if you make a mistake, don't worry so much. It's not going to affect your reading score anymore. Your subject outlines are a good place to go find information about which textbooks to buy. You will usually be given one of these for each subject in the first lecture, but if you're missing one or need one earlier, then you should contact the subject coordinator. Started out not so great, to be honest. Not happy with how I started, but that's okay. Let's keep moving. All right, yet this landscape, which appeared so alien and confronting to the white settlers and explorers, had been home for thousands of years to indigenous Australians for whom the plains, so there's no full stops here, for whom the plains, ranges, and deserts were a sustaining spiritual and integral part of their existence. Quite a few hard words. I'm going to go a little bit slower, and I'm going to follow on the screen with my finger. Helps you maintain the pace. Yet this landscape, which appeared so alien and confronting to the white settlers and explorers, had been home for thousands of years to indigenous Australians for whom the plains, ranges, and deserts were a sustaining, spiritual, and integral part of their existence. That was much better. So you see, you have to adjust. You're going to be nervous, it's fine, but just maintain the flow, follow with your finger, and slow down if you see the words are harder. And you see, when I prepare, actually, I read it quite quickly to see where I might get stuck. The terms voice and text are multifaceted. Both have a wide range of possible meanings in everyday speech and academic usage. You may encounter the two words used in a variety of ways in connection with different subjects, and they won't always mean exactly the same thing. All right, not bad. The term voice and text are multifaceted. Both have wide range of possible meanings in everyday speech and academic usage. You may encounter the two words used in a variety of ways in connection with different subjects, and they won't always mean exactly the same thing. So I think you can't see because of the camera, but I'm actually following on the screen with my finger. This is so helpful. Highly recommend it. And as you can see in the preparation time, I read the text really fast to see what words are difficult and where I might get stuck, where I need to breathe. So let's have a look. With a population of only just over 30 million living in the world's second largest country, Canada is justly renowned for vast tracts of wilderness untroubled by pollution either from industry or from intensive farming methods. A major conservation issue is the battle to stop the logging of virgin forests in northern Ontario and on the west coast. All right, we can do this. Go Canada. I'm Canadian, so. With a population of only just over 30 million living in the world's second largest country, Canada is justly renowned for vast tracts of wilderness untroubled by pollution either from industry or from intensive farming methods. A major conservation issue is the battle to stop the logging of virgin forests in northern Ontario and on the west coast. So as you can see, I'm not really rushing too much, right? I'm going just fast enough where I can say every word perfectly, but make sure you're not reading choppy since it's inception, the United States. So you actually have to push out your air at the same time consistently as you're reading the text, and you want it to last you till the end of the sentence, okay? Since inception, the United Nations system has been working to ensure adequate food for all through sustainable agriculture, made sure of the world's poorest people. So I don't have time to actually prepare this because I'm talking to you guys in between too long, but that's okay. Man-made and natural influences that reduce agricultural production. Since its inception, the United Nations system has been working to ensure adequate food for all through sustainable agriculture. The majority of the world's poorest people live in rural areas of developing countries. These depend on agriculture and related activities for their livelihoods. This makes them particularly vulnerable to man-made and natural influences that reduce agricultural production. Not bad. And I'm on question 6, so that means that repeat sentence going to be coming soon. Let's get ready for repeat sentence. In the meantime, I'm going to get my other camera ready so you guys can see how I'm taking notes. All right, you can prepare. In the past, wars have led to inflation and higher commodity prices. Fighting disrupts trade and prevents raw materials from being shipped from one country to another. In Second World War Britain, a banana was the height of luxury. All right, let's do this.
Modern business has to adapt and be flexible in order to survive.
Modern business has to adapt and be flexible in order to survive. Make sure to click next right away.
Applicants for the course should preferably have a degree in English or journalism.
Applicants for the course should preferably have degrees in business or journalism. That was a hard one, and I'm going back and forth.
What's going on that can help patients leave their fears at the door?
What's going on that can help patients leave their fears at the door?
After 1830, periodicals appeared in large numbers in America.
After 1830, periodicals appeared in large numbers in America. This one repeats quite often, so I knew it.
The computer crashed and I hadn't saved my work.
A computer crashed and I haven't saved my work. And this gives points in speaking and listening.
His academic supervisor called in to see him last night.
His academic supervisor called in to see him last night. And what's important here is that you're getting as many words in sequence as possible.
You should inquire about direct deposit.
You should inquire about direct deposit.
Just wait a minute, I'll be with you shortly.
Just wait a minute, I'll be with you shortly. And you don't need to copy their accents. So you can just speak in a normal
You must include your name and identity number on the registration form.
identity number. You must include your name and identity number in the registration form. I was actually slowing down trying to remember the words.
The graph shows the percentage of people who smoke according to gender.
The graph shows the percentage of people who smoke according to gender. All right, and now we have describe images. So with the new changes, there's going to be a human being also double checking your answer, not just AI. So you cannot use the same template. You actually have to have what we call a flexible language pattern. And that's something we teach our students, different starts of the sentence that you can jump in between and actually rely on and change up slightly. So let's have a look here. I'm out of time. The given image in front of me is a table, and the table is giving us the information about teaching as a career. I can see several different columns, including percentage of final year students and recent graduates and teachers, and total percentages. The first visible row in this column is final year students planning to teaching career, which shows 1%. In the middle part of the image, I see recently graduated students that are now teaching, which is 70%. And finally, I can see teachers who find teaching a satisfying career, which is 95%. Overall, this picture provides very interesting information about how people see teaching as a career, with 97% loving it. You see, the numbers were wrong. I got stuck a couple times. It wasn't perfect. I didn't prepare, but I wouldn't be surprised if you get 19 speaking. The key is to keep going. All right, let's actually prepare this. So we have a bar graph about education pays, unemployment rate in 2007 percentage, median earnings in 2007 in dollars. When there's a lot of information, it's quite easy. We have this flexible language pattern that basically we kind of follow it like a format in the same sequence, but different words. The graph in front of me is a bar graph, and this bar graph gives information about education pays. On the left-hand side, I can see unemployment rate in 2007 in percent, and on the right-hand side, I can see the median weekly earnings in 2007 in dollars. The highest visible factor, which is the first one, is doctoral degree, shows 1.4% and approximately $1,500. In the middle part of the image, I see master's degree and bachelor's degree, which are 1.8 and 2.2% respectively. And finally, at the very bottom, I see associate's degree, which is the last visible factor in this image, that shows 3% and $740. Overall, this picture is about the different educational pays. Click next right when done. Don't make any noise. Don't make any sound. All right, let's have a look what we have here. We have another bar graph, barriers to visiting museums or art galleries, proportion of adults, lack of time, not available locally, percentage. All right. This image is a bar graph, and it gives information about barriers to visiting museum of art galleries. I can see a proportion of adults unable to visit more often, and the data is given in the form of percentage out of a base of 347,000 people. The first visible thing I can see in this picture is a lack of time, which is showing more than 50%. The next visible factor in this image is not available locally, transport problems, cost of entry, and caregiver responsibilities. And we can see the number of those and the percentage is decreasing. And the last visible thing in this picture is at the very bottom, which shows lack of information about the event. In conclusion, these are all the barriers to visiting museums and art galleries. So you see, I always have in conclusion, finally, overall. We always go through the bar graph, through the type of graph. So this is a map. It's about Switzerland languages. I can see different colors in different countries. right? Then you pick something, you describe maybe the location, the position, if it's on the left-hand side or on the right-hand side. But usually with maps, we always go with images. And you'll see again, I'm following the same sequence, but I'm just freestyling the words a little bit. The given image in front of me is a map, and the map is providing information about Switzerland languages. I can see different colors such as pink, green, yellow, and red, and I can also see German, French, Italian, and Roman, it seems like. On the left-hand side, I have the French language, which is represented in the green color, and in the middle part of the image, I have the German language, which shows to seem to be the biggest majority of the people. On the right-hand side and the bottom, I can see the Italian and Romansh, which is in yellow and green respectively. In conclusion, it's very interesting that there are so many different languages in Switzerland. I can see that there's 4 of them split across the country. Again, not great, not perfect. I didn't really prepare for this, but it is what it is. And you know, that's actually one of the biggest reliefs for students, is that when they mess up and they think, oh, I'm already done. It's only speaking, I already failed. I got stuck, I messed up. You can actually make quite a few mistakes, like a lot of mistakes in speaking, and still get 90. So let's see. We have a line graph about volunteer rate, age. The image in front of me is a line graph, and this line graph provides information about the volunteer rate for different ages for males and females. I can see the data is given in the form of percentages from 0 to 50, and I can see different ages and age groups from 18 all the way to 85 years and over. The first visible data point in this graph is between the ages of 18 to 24, which is showing 30% for both approximately. In the middle part of the image, we can see the trend is decreasing for both, and towards the end, it's the lowest, which represents that 85 and over have 10 and approximately 30%. In conclusion, it's obvious that people volunteer a lot according to their age. Again, my conclusion was illogical. Didn't make sense. So, Retell lecture, let's go.
To begin with, how underfunded is UK higher education? The table shows the proportion of gross domestic product spent on institutions by the main OECD countries for the latest year, for which we have statistics, 2001. It shows that UK spending, public and private, on higher education institutions was at 1.08%. Well below the OECD mean of 1.34% of GDP. The table clearly shows that the UK is in the bottom 5 countries of the 20 in the table in terms of public expenditure on tertiary education, its spending being proportionately equal to that of Italy and Mexico. At the other end of the table, we see that Denmark and Finland allocate most public money to tertiary education, spending twice as high a proportion of GDP on it as does the UK.
All right, so you only have 10 seconds to prepare, and actually, here are my notes. Let's have a look. The lecture gave a lot of information about the underfunded UK public education, and they discussed different things such as the 2001 statistics. Firstly, the speaker gave a lot of information about the UK spending, which is currently about 1.08%, and it is way below the mean of other countries. In addition, the speaker also gave information about how United Kingdom is in the bottom 5 countries, and its total statistics and expenditure is equal to Italy and Mexico. Finally, the speaker talked about Denmark and Finland, and that they're almost double compared to UK. In conclusion, this picture gave a lot of information, and this lecture was very informative about the expenditure in UK. Again, not great, but we got it done.
So let me begin with the notion of a dimension. The dimension is simply how many numbers that you need to specify a location. So if we think about the surface of the Earth, the equator is one-dimensional. You need to specify only one number to specify a location on the equator, namely the longitude. The surface of the Earth altogether is, of course, two-dimensional. You need to specify 2 numbers, the latitude and longitude, to specify a location on the Earth. The space above the Earth is 3-dimensional. If I want to tell you the location of a hang glider, I need to give you the latitude, longitude, and altitude. But mathematically, there's no reason to stop at 3 dimensions. A 4-dimensional space is simply a space in which you need to specify 4 numbers to specify a location in that space. A 5-dimensional space would be one in which you need to specify 5 numbers, etc. In fact, I claim you already know an example of a 4-dimensional space. So let's define an event just to be an occurrence that happens in a small region of space at a definite time. In other words, an event is like a snap of your fingers or a clap of your hands. And now the collection of all events, if I want to specify an event, I need to give you 4 numbers. I need to tell you where it happens in space and when it happens in time.
All right, so let's have a look at this one. The speaker gave a lecture about the topic of a notion of a dimension. At the beginning, he gave a lot of information explaining the dimensions, and he mentioned that the equator is one-dimensional. Furthermore, he also gave information about the surface of the Earth, which is two-dimensional. Likewise, the speaker also talked about the space above the Earth, which is three-dimensional, and he also talked about how mathematically you can have even more dimensions. Finally, the speaker gave information about defining an event with the snap of your fingers, and that all events where they happen in space and time. In conclusion, this lecture was about the different amounts of dimensions. Thank you very much. So, thank you very much, PTE. All right.
The terms circumference, diameter, and radius refer most commonly to which geometric shape?
The answer is circle. So, answer short question is not that important.
Who prepares and sells medicine in a shop or hospital?
The answer is pharmacist or doctor. You can give multiple variations as long as one of them is right. You'll get.
Where on a college campus would a periodicals collection be located?
The answer is library or hall or the lecture class. No idea. I'm pretty sure it's library.
What part of a guitar do you strum with your fingers?
It's called strings or guitar strings.
What official document protects the creator's rights to his or her invention?
It's called intellectual property or IP. All right, let's have a look. So
a group of 3 students are discussing ideas about how to make their campus more environmentally friendly.
So I've been thinking a lot about the environment lately, and that we should be looking at how to make the campus greener. We've got recycling bins for cardboard and cans, but that's only scratching the surface, and we could be a lot more proactive. I've heard that ink and printer cartridges can nearly always be recycled, so that could be one starting point.
Yeah, and don't forget batteries too. All the raw materials can be extracted from them for the manufacturers to reuse. So you're conserving energy, reducing pollution, and helping the economy. You know, that's another thing we could be doing. But what can we do to encourage students to actually try and recycle more? It'd be good if we could offer some incentive.
What if we asked the university to do a competition to get students to design some kind of artwork promoting recycling? I reckon people would be up for that. But, what would the winners get? I think we need to draw people in somehow, create a buzz and get them talking about it, and then actually doing the recycling.
Maybe the winner's artwork could be displayed on the university website homepage and in the main building foyer. And then, in practical terms, we'd also need more allocated drop-off points for recyclable items. I mean, at the moment, there aren't very many places for people to recycle stuff, so it just goes into the regular garbage.
Yeah, great idea about displaying the artwork in a place everyone can see it. And maybe for the first couple of weeks after the new recycling points have been introduced, we can get a group of volunteers in those fluorescent yellow high-visibility jackets to hand out flyers, or just let people know about them.
Yes. Well, we need it to become a habit so that the next time a student has some cardboard or paper to recycle, they remember to take their used ink cartridges or batteries with them too.
And we can pass the info about the competition and the recycling points to those 2 final year students who do that really popular weekly podcast for the campus. We could also ask them to build in a regular time slot to talk more about the environment and being greener on the campus, to keep the dialogue going. We don't want to lose momentum. There's always the danger that we have a couple of months of change and then we all go back to how we were before.
Oh yes, that's a good idea. They're great, those 2 podcasters. I know loads of people who listen to them. There'll also be others who listen to their podcasts who can offer good ideas about other steps we can take. So that should, hopefully, help maximize our chances of reaching as many students as possible.
All right, here we go. The speakers gave a lot of information about the topic of how to make the campus more environmentally friendly. First, there was 3 people in this conversation, one gentleman and 2 ladies. The first speaker talked about how to make the campus greener, and in addition, she said that they can be more proactive. Then the second speaker talked about how, for example, batteries can extract materials, which will also help the economy. And they also encouraged other students to recycle more, which can help make the world and the environment much cleaner. Then the third speaker actually came up with an idea to have a competition. And this competition could include things such as artwork to promote recycling and creating a lot of awareness and a lot of buzz about this event. One of the ideas proposed was to display all the art on the university name page and to have this art spread all over the place. The second speaker gave another idea about having a group of volunteers to actually go around the campus and hand out flyers. And finally, they also finished with passing the information about the competition throughout the campus. One of the thoughts that was recommended is coming up with a podcast that somebody already has on campus, which is quite popular. And the idea was to talk about the environment on this podcast, which would get a lot of people interested in these initiatives. Overall, they offered a bunch of good ideas, and they were encouraging other students from around the campus as well to participate with their good ideas in order to make the campus more environmentally friendly and more green and so on and so forth. Not a good ending. I should have had a conclusion there. But again, let's see.
A group of 3 students are discussing their university accommodations.
Have you sorted out your university accommodation yet? I heard that you're going to stay in the university hall this year. What made you go for that?
Well, first I like the fact that it's all-inclusive and I don't have to worry about anything. Bills, cleaning, or dealing with landlords, and all the problems that comes with renting. Also, sharing a flat with other students is loads of fun.
Maybe, but you know that it's really the luck of the draw who you end up living with. Sorry to disappoint you, but there's no guarantee you'll live with any of your friends even if you book together as a group and request to stay together. Don't you mind that you have no control whatsoever over who you're going to share your accommodation with?
I don't mind being placed with people I've never met before. In fact, in a way, I actually kind of like it. I love getting to know new people, widening the circle of my friends. That's one of the benefits of living on the university campus, isn't it?
Well, if you say so, but that's definitely not for me. I don't like being thrown in the deep end and not having any control over the people I'll be living with. Plus, having to put up with their mess and noise on a daily basis? Ugh! I had enough of that last year, so I'm going to rent a flat with one of my mates.
That's a bold move. Are you sure about that? Have you thought about all the bills you'll have to pay? And also, maintaining the property is going to be your responsibility. You'll have to do all the cleaning, too. I think campus accommodation is the best. I want to hang out with people and go to lots of events, and living on campus is going to make it easier.
I've decided to go for a shared flat. I prefer living with people who have the same habits. You know, I come from a quiet home, and the idea of having loads of people around constantly is kind of irritating. I might do it next year, but not now. I don't mind managing the bills because I like the independence and flexibility I get in return.
So you guys are giving up living very close to university, and you're prepared to pay more to be on your own. Plus, there's the cost of public transport.
Sure, but with my own place, I get a bit more space. I don't really fancy having a tiny room feeling cramped. True, I might have to go a bit further away from campus to get a cheaper rent, but I don't mind that at all. I'm planning to buy a cheap bike and cycle to class, so I'll get my daily dose of exercise.
As you can see, it's not a lot of time to prepare in between. The audio kind of starts and you have to be ready. The lecture had the information about 3 different speakers that were talking to each other about university accommodations. The first speaker talked about how they're thinking about staying at the university hall and staying on campus. The second speaker talked about that he prefers actually the all-inclusive options and he doesn't want to have bills and maintenance and other things to deal with, and instead he prefers to share the room with other people because it's more fun. The third speaker talked about that there's no guarantee of control about who they will share the room with. So they decided to go for a shared flat instead. And they talk about the different benefits of having a shared flat. One example is actually having more friends. After that, the first speaker talked about how she also doesn't like having control because a lot of people could be creating a lot of mess and noise. And another thing that she had an issue with is that the rent could be late and she has to deal with all of the deals of the bills and all the maintenance, but she doesn't mind. Then they started talking about how you also have to do all the cleaning by yourself, but for some of them it was okay. The third speaker finally decided that he wants to share a flat with his friends and he doesn't actually mind the commuting and he might instead live on campus next year. Overall, they also discussed at the end the topics about public transport and the cost of actually getting to and from campus. And the final outcome from the first speaker is that she's happy to live off campus because it has more space, but she will consider buying a bicycle in order to get to the campus without having to pay for public transportation. Overall, it seems like the three speakers had completely different approaches to how they want to live on campus, whether it's sharing with other people and meeting new people or having more space, but living a little bit further off campus. Not terrible. All right, here we have to reply to a situation.
One of your friends from school is going away to start university next week. She's excited, but sad to say goodbye. Some of you are discussing ideas for a present to give her for her new apartment. What would you suggest to them?
So here, it's very important to actually know how to address these people. And you can look at the question for clues. So to all of our friends, I'd like to propose an idea. Since one of our best friends is going away for school, even though she's very excited, she's actually sad to go away, we should come up with some kind of an idea to give her a present for her new apartment where she's going. What I would like to suggest is to giving her some kind of a pictures of all of us together. So even if she's away for study, she can remember all of us and have fond memories of all of us. Or we could come up with something practical that she will need on campus, such as a microwave or cooking utensils or some other type of decoration from her room. Really appreciate your guys' opinion and let me know what you think and what you prefer that we buy for her together. I think that was quite decent. All right, you've decided you don't want to take the course in mechanical
engineering. You have
engineering.
decided that you don't want to take the course in mechanical engineering. Your friend has dropped a course recently. You want your friend to tell you the correct procedure to follow and when the deadline is for getting a tuition refund. What do you say?
So here you also have to keep in mind that you forget sometimes the question. Look at the question, you can paraphrase because they will be expecting those words to be repeated and their synonyms. Hey mate, I actually know that you dropped out of the mechanical engineering course recently. I don't like the course myself too much and I want to drop out of it as well. Could you please give me some advice on what is the correct procedure to follow and what is the deadline for actually getting a tuition refund? Of course, I don't want to be stuck paying all of this amount of money for a course that I'm not taking. So I really appreciate your suggestions. It would mean a lot to me and it would definitely save me a lot of headache and a lot of cost if I can get my refund and instead pick another course that I might prefer. Instead of money, I almost said cheddar at some point, so sorry for the hesitation. I thought in the real exam, that's not a good advice because if the human examiner is actually listening to the answer as well, definitely don't say cheddar. All right, summarize written text. Let's have a look. So again, for this question, it's very important that it gives you points in your writing, but it also gives points in your reading. And it's about the content that we pick here. So what a lot of people do is they will take the first sentence and the last sentence and they will join it with the word and. Not gonna work. In the past, we used to take 4 to 5 sentences from here and basically not change them, whereas now we have to modify this a little bit. So let's have a look. All right, have a lifetime of life centuries for it was a good idea because so this is all in actually first person. So in the writing summaries, we always have to change it to third person. You cannot say I, we, me, mine. You have to say he, she, they, them. So they changed the city life for a cottage. They moved to the countryside. There's minor disadvantages and there's many advantages as well. And she might have been hard to persuade as she was town born and bred. So his wife was hard to persuade to move to the countryside. Okay. All right. Let's have a look. Let's start typing. So first, I don't really care if it makes sense. I'm going to start typing out what I think is important. And even though there's a copy paste button here, you actually cannot copy paste in the real exam. So if you have a look here, it doesn't work. All right. Let's have a look. So they made a lifestyle choice to exchange. Oh my God, why is it so slow? This is so bad. Okay, not what I wanted to do. So it's very laggy. I think maybe it's because I'm recording this at the same time. All right, it's fine. I will write this in a separate Word document and then we can copy paste this after. All right, let's have a look here. All right, they made, oh my God, this is slow as well. They made a lifestyle choice to exchange this is very painful. Lifestyle choice. Look at this magic. It's typing without my help. Sorry for that. We're experiencing some technical difficulties. To exchange a city terrace for a farm cottage, we need a connector. Moreover, they had been seduced by the idea of oh my God, this is so bad. I cannot even follow because it's typing so slow. What should I do? Oh my God. Maybe we should close some of this stuff. They had been there before, and he was familiar, and they were familiar with the minor disadvantages of country living. However, there were many advantages, and therefore his wife might have been hard to persuade, so he said his young wife back. So, oh my God, I need to wait for it to actually finish typing. This is so bad. My God, the time is going by just with this lag. Let's hope we can finish in time. Therefore, okay, she might have been his wife. His wife might have been hard to persuade. To persuade. Persuade that a farm cottage on a much lower income was a good idea. All right, let's hope it stops lagging so I can actually double check my answer. This is so bad. For a farm cottage. Cottage. Moreover, comma before. They've been there before and they were familiar with the minor disadvantages of country living. For the essay, we're definitely not going to do this. I'll actually show you guys something else of how you can make your own template. That's going to be a 90 out of 90 template. I hope our video guy is able to fix this, because if you're watching this, it's very painful for me to be in the moment, and I'm sure it's even painful to watch as well. However, okay, they made a lifestyle choice, so we have 2 minutes. They made a lifestyle choice, so change it. Moreover, they had been there before, and they were familiar with the minor disadvantages. However, there are many advantages. I have this part already. So why might have been hard to perceive that a farm cottage on a lower income was a good idea. Right, let's have a look. So we got a minute left. Somehow I made it. I made a lifestyle choice to exchange the city terms. Moreover, they had been there before and they're familiar with the minor disadvantaged country living such as. Okay, great. Everything looks good. I'll actually start getting ready for the next question. Everything seems all right. How many words? 57 words. So here, the official limit is 5 to 75, but normally you want to write somewhere between 55 to 65 to be in the sweet spot. Always make sure you have only one full stop, double check, triple check. Whether many advantages therefore is what might be 100%. Looks okay. All right. So next we have another writing summary. Fantastic. So that's actually a good thing because you get easy marks in your reading if you know how to do it right. I've actually seen this question before, so I'm not going to get stuck here too much. I'm just going to start typing. In 1698, the band of stockbrokers from Jonathan's Coffee House would be the founder members of the world's money capital, but the progress was not smooth because this is so bad. All right, what I will actually do it is maybe in a completely separate document. Oh my god, are you serious? Everything is gone. All right, I'm gonna type actually in a separate window and then we can have a look at it afterwards. Let me close my WhatsApp too. I have so many things open, I think that's probably why. In 1698, the band of stockbrokers from Jonathan's Coffee House would be the founder members of the world's money capital, but the progress was not smooth. Moreover, the souls who operate the UK's financial hub have now overtaken their New York rivals, and they hold 70% of the global secondary bond market. Thus, the fact that it flies so high is against the odds, because London is one of the most expensive cities in the world to live in. Oh my God, this is so bad. This is really bad. What should we do? What should we do? I'm gonna actually type it on my phone. I'm gonna send it to myself. All right, let's have a look here. This is really bad. In 1698, the stockbrokers from Jonathan's Coffee House would become the world's money capital, but the progress was not smooth. Moreover, the South Sea bubble burst, but UK's financial hub has overtaken their New York rivals, and they hold 70% of the global bond market. Thus, it's against the odds, because London is one of the most expensive cities in the world. All right, just gonna copy paste it here. Are you kidding me? Shit. I cannot copy paste it here. Well, that's unfortunate. I can't copy paste it. Okay. Well, that's a little stressful. Getting a little nervous here. All right, we managed to copy paste this. We still got a little bit of time left. The stockbrokers coffee has become the world's money capital, but the course not smooth. Moreover, see bubble burst, but you can take in your rivals, and they want 70% off the global bond market. Thus, it's against the odds because London is one of the most expensive cities in the world. 62 words, we're good to go. All right, let's continue. Now we have the essay. So the means of communicating in society today has changed markedly over the past 10 years. In your opinion, what are the positive and negative impacts of this change? So positive and negative, positives and negatives of communication in today's society. Great. So look, with this bug, I'm not going to torture you sitting through the essay and watching me trying to type this manually. So actually what I will do, and this is very important as well, we recently posted a YouTube video about how you can create your own PTE template for the essay. And this is very important because nowadays in the writing section, there will be human interference. So they will be checking your answer, meaning if you're using a very common template from YouTube, you are gone. So our video guy is going to put a video somewhere here, and we're going to put it in the link of this tutorial, of this webinar as well. And you can actually watch it start to finish and come up with your own writing template. Then you can memorize that's made individually for you. So this is what it's going to look like. And I'm just going to do the same thing here. So I have a very long video. It's like 8 minutes explaining how to do it step by step. But basically, take whatever template you have now, or take any template from Google, YouTube, whatever. And basically, you're going to pop it into ChatGPT. You're going to put a certain prompt that I will do right now on my screen as well. And this is what's going to help you come up with your own template. So let's have a look. So, And one thing we haven't revealed actually anywhere online yet, but I guess you are the first to find out. In ChatGPT that I'm sure everybody has used, we've created a brand new GPT. So if you go here and you search GPT, it's called PTE Academic Coach 2025. And basically I've uploaded most of my knowledge base about the PTE exam here. So you can do a lot of cool stuff. But basically, here's the prompt that I'm going to use. Oh, come on. Here is the prompt. It's definitely not the summarized written text. Okay, instead of saying below, I'm going to say attached. And it's very important that you put in the prompt as well that it may not be recognized for plagiarism. So give me a second. Let me actually upload one of our old templates here. Desktop. All right, and I'm going to upload our template from last year here. It's going to come up with a brand new template for me. I will copy paste it, and then we'll actually discuss how to add the information in there. Oh, attached, not atasis. All right, here we go. So it's creating a brand new template for me right now as we speak. So we just have to make sure that we're not using these long dashes. It's something you can remove. You can just replace it with commas. Should be fine. And of course, you're not going to put body paragraph 1 in here. This is just for you to know how to do this. All right, we're almost halfway through. Halfway through this video, halfway through this mock test. All right, thank you, ChatGPT. Of course, I will double check it as well, make sure it's all good. But overall, here's the idea. Significance of, so here we're going to put the keywords from the question. Communicating in society. Communicating in society. Some attention over the years. Lately, scores. See my facial expression. This is how happy I am with it right now. The what? The discourse. All right. And what you're going to do, of course, you're going to come up. Oh, come on. This is so bad. Replace these with commas, and of course you're going to make your own template and memorize it. There's only going to be one essay, so they cannot actually compare it to anything else. Additionally, okay, what's the next keyword? Has changed over the past 10 years. So I can just say maybe changes. Changes over the past 10 years. And of course, because it's changes, I have to change this to have instead of has. All right, and who is this about? This is about society as a whole. I already have the word society. I can just maybe say people worldwide. The gist of. So here we can put maybe communication technology. Magic. All right, first inverse comparing of the importance of. So here I'll talk about the positive of, let's say, the information or the communication revolution. So what is the positive of these changes in society? We have instant access to information. We can see our loved ones. It's good for security and defense, all of that kind of stuff. The idea that rapid evolution of communication devices has helped unlock and increase the human productivity. Oh my God, this is so bad. Evolution of communication devices. For example, so the example doesn't need to be factually correct, but of course it's good to give something that makes sense. For instance, research across various universities has proven that the human I try to be a very patient person, but when it comes to technological frustrations, I lose my patience. So trying to keep it cool here. Universities has proven that the GDP of countries worldwide has grown many times over as a result of devices like computers and cell phones. I don't know where half of my answer just disappeared. The world grew exponentially as a result of devices. Okay. So what again is the subject here? It's about the communicating society. So we can say maybe methods of communication. Of humanity, let's say. Here we're going to talk about the negative idea. So what is bad about this kind of communication technology? So let's have a look. The benefits of changes in how we communicate. So you can just keep paraphrasing the same thing again and again. For communication, there's not really a lot of synonyms, but normally I would use a variety of synonyms. But you don't need to paraphrase specifically that word. You can kind of paraphrase and change it as a chunk. Methods of communication, communication technology. Communicate, double M. Notion that, so what are the disadvantages? That new technologies have terrible side effects Terrible side effects like addiction for the youth and a high risk of, let's say, cybersecurity attacks. A high risk of hacking. Of getting hacked. Youth and a high risk of. Alright, how much time we have? We have 4 minutes. I better speed this up. There have been many news recently about security breaches in the financial system causing severe damages to bank users. Barely anything got typed. Fantastic. This is just brutal. Like, what is happening? Sometimes it just kind of skips it. Oh my god. And I have to wait for it to finish typing. Been many incidents involving piracy and hacking. I don't know if I'll have time to actually check my spelling, but normally you should have at least 1 or 2 minutes. Severe damages to bank. This kind of disadvantage associated with drastic differences in how we communicate. Two minutes. I hope we're gonna make it. And we might want to put a comma here. And finally, in conclusion, I don't even know how many words I wrote. So I need to make sure I only have one line. Impact of evolution in how we talk to each other. Let's have a look. We got 1 minute left. So, so we got 273 words. Good. If you need 79, try to get over 270. If you need 65, about 250. If you need 50, get over 220 words. I hope I don't have any mistakes. Normally I wouldn't, but as you can see with this type of lag, it's very, very difficult. It looks okay. Privacy and hacking causing severe damages to bank users. All right, looks all right. Let's have a little celebration, little hooray. All right, let's get into reading. So for the reading section, you have to manage your timing by yourself. You're going to have the timer in the top right corner here. As you can see, I have however many minutes, 23 minutes, and I got to get started because the time is ticking. Let's go. The Earth's atmosphere is forever on the move, wind and air in motion. Sometimes air moves slowly, about the breeze. Something or fierce, so it has to be the opposite of fierce. Gentle or fierce. The air above these something spots is warmed. About what kind of spots? As the sun moves through the sky, it heats up some parts of the sea, and then more than the air above these sea spots is warmed because it's in the sea. Elsewhere, cool air sinks because it is what? So if it sinks, it has to be heavier. All right. Winds will blow whenever there is a something in air temperature. Maybe a difference in? Conflict in, difficulty, difference in. And finally, others are part of the huge circulation pattern that sends winds over the entire globe, the whole globe, over the entire globe. All right. Gentle or fierce sea spots. These sea spots. Sun moves through the sky, it heats up some parts of the sea and land more than others. Oh, so it's hot spots. These. So it's not sea spots actually. So the air above these hot spots is warm. Yeah. These hot spots. Could have made a mistake. All right, so I started at 23 minutes. Here I can spend maximum 3 minutes. So normally I would go next at 20, but I have a little bit of extra time saved because I finished this quite fast. So let's keep going. All right. In England, well-known access to university, level of parental income, students from poor families. So they talk about the cost of university, stuff like that. However, these questions of whether graduates' earnings vary something, their socioeconomic vary according to their socioeconomic background with reference to, it would be with reference to, depending on there. So it doesn't work corresponding there, according to. All right, taking the same subject has remained poorly understood. Something limited by data availability. Like that, limited so much. It's a little bit hard here to catch the grammar, so you need to actually read the whole sentence. However, the question whether graduates earning vary according to their socioeconomic background among graduates attending some university and taking the same subject has remained poorly understood. Something limited by data availability. Like that, hence, thus far, limited so much, limited thus far, so far, limited by data availability, okay? Our unique administration database offers substantial advantages in something this crucial question answering, in addressing, okay, addressing makes sense. I often try to actually guess the word before I open the blank, and often I'll see either that word or the synonym. The findings are also relevant for myriad other issues that benefit from better information on something variation, on institution variation, no corporation, federation, association variation, on corporation, federation variation. That's a really weird sentence. The findings are also relevant for myriad other issues that benefit from better information on something in graduates' earnings, better information on institution variation, on corporation variation, on federation variation in graduates' earnings, association variation. That's so weird. Okay, let's keep going. Better information, earnings, including student choice subject institutions, better information for schools to help advise, help in. Better information for schools, help and guide students. Better information for schools, helped advise and guide students. It has to be the only one. Helped advise and guide students. Wow, that's cool. Helped to help, for help, help in advice. Advise. No, it'd be advice, not advice. Helped advise. Helped advise and guide students. Okay. All right, let's have a look at this one. It's still weird. The findings are also relevant for myriad other issues that benefit from better information on something in graduates' earnings, on institution variation in graduates' earnings, on corporation variation, on federation. I really don't know. I need to maybe check before. Our unique administration database offers advantage in addressing this crucial. So they have this unique database. English poor families with their background, their graduates' earnings vary according to their socioeconomic background. This is really weird. And these are also relevant for myriad. You should benefit from better information on Corporation variation, graduate study on federation, association, on federation variation, institution variation, corporation variation, and the information on association variation, better information on association variation. This doesn't make any sense. I've never been stuck like this for that long. But let's have a look again. The findings are also relevant. So by 17 I have to go next, so it's good we have some time left over. For mirror out, they choose a bit of better information on something including student choice subjects. Institution, maybe institution, because student choice of subject and institution. I have no idea. On institution variation. So maybe the institution varies, and that's why the cost is different. Again, it could be wrong. So if I get 89 instead of 19 reading, that's probably the reason why. All right, let's keep going. Our sense of cinema as a site of commercial entertainment can be tracked back to Lumiere's brother. They something a fee-paying public in Paris. They attracted, connected, discovered, committed. They attracted the public to sit and watch the movies, and they blossomed in a few years into a world cinema something, and then speak the fantastical Hollywood into a world cinema industry, into a world cinema club, cinema industry activity, and I speak fantastical Hollywood in a world cinema. Okay, the commercial Pandora's box they opened was to blossom in a few years in the world cinema industry, and I speak the fantastical Hollywood. Audiences rarely something to films. Yet in the 30 years in which the miraculous construction was accomplished, audiences rarely had listened to films, had to listen to films. Had to listen, no, listen to films could be, had to listen. So it's either the first or the third, only watch them. Yet in the 30 years in which this miraculous construction was accompanied, audiences rarely had listened to films, only watched them. Audiences rarely listened to films, only watched them. Had listened, only watched them. Had to listen to films, only watched them. Had to listen. Let's come back. It's a little bit tricky grammatically. All right. Silent something. There was a lot of noise, machinery. In fact, on the contrary, hence the early decades cinema were characterized by the title silent. On the contrary, there's a lot of noise. Furthermore, on the contrary, I think it's opposite. So it's not actually silent, it's very noisy. Even so, the absence of the human voice and something, human voice and conversation, human voice and dialogue, I think it's dialogue and interaction and speaking, human voice and speaking, making the film seem rather strange. Interaction has to be dialogue, voice and dialogue, human voice and dialogue. Because you can see the interaction, human, even so the absence of human voice and conversation. Conversation also makes sense, but dialogue is more appropriate to movies. Yet in 30 years in which this miraculous construction was accomplished, audiences rarely had listened to films, only watched them. Audiences rarely had to listen to films, had to listen, only watched them. Audience rarely listened to film, had to listen to film. Had to listen. Audience rarely had to listen. Rarely had to listen to films. Only watch them. Had to listen. Only watch them. Audiences rarely had to listen to films. Only watch them. So I think because here, had to listen to films. To listen to watch. I think it makes sense. Audiences rarely had to listen to films. Only watch them. Rarely had to listen to films. Yeah, I think it's correct, but again, could be wrong. I have no idea, to be honest. The prospect of learning something in history is what makes sociologists tick. It is through something as systemic understanding. It's through developing a study, through doing something. So it has to be ing, which shape our lives, that we something exercise control, that we should exercise control over. The forces which shape our lives, that we will, that we would, that we should. The process of learning something from history makes sociologists tick. It is through developing a systematic understanding of the forces of life that we can exercise control. It is through developing this we can do that. Yeah. So here you have to zoom out a little bit. The founding thinkers of sociology who something to prominence, who rose maybe to prominence, who came, who reached to, no, who went, who where, Who went to prominence, who came to prominence, became known, prominent. This relationship is an intimate one because it is something with the social change. It is also with the social, it is only with the social change institute and development of the model that it is only with this that a discipline such as sociology should exist. It is only with the social change. It is simply with the social change that it is. No, it is also. It is only developing. Pretty sure it's right. Through developing that we can exercise control over them who came prominence. Let's keep going. All right, correctly that flowers look the way they're pollinated, but that's not the whole story. Scientists have now discovered that plants have another trick up there to make themselves something to even most choosy insects, solar power, to make themselves irresistible, invincible, implausible, irregular, irresistible. A senior election department of Cambridge and her something and her cooperative conspirators, contemptuous colleagues. Let's have a look. Unleashing a team of bumblebees on their floral offerings, origins, organisms. Wash as the insect into the flowers to drink the nectar. On their floral, so flowers, floral offerings, origins, team of bumblebees, unleashing them on organisms, so it's a plant. Very quickly became da-da-da-da-da. The scientists also tried a different color combination and got the same, obviously, result. Colleagues, irresistible. Let's have a look here again. But that's not the whole story. Scientists have now discovered that plants have another trick up their sleeves to make them irresistible to even the most choosy insects. Makes sense? Even if you're picky, the flowers are still irresistible. And her colleagues, conspirators, know their floral offerings. Ooh, maybe it's offerings, not organisms. Organisms are usually a bacteria. So if they give the flowers to the bees, it must be the offering. Recently set up some fake flowers filled with a sugar solution, which they kept at a different temperature. Unleashing a team of bumblebees on their... So actually, it's not just the flowers, because it's fake flowers. So it must be offering. They're offering this to the bees. So very easy to get tricked if you're not paying attention. That's why we try to get the easy ones out of the way first, and then we spend the extra time on the hard ones. All right, let's have a look. So this has to be multiple choice, choose multiple answer. According to the text, which the following statement apply to people in Denmark who lose their job. They must take further training. They are assured of finding a new job. They are required to seek another job. They receive a small fraction of their salary from government. They have an 80% chance of remaining unemployed. All right. Denmark has a long history of weak job protection. So weak job protection. Employers hire and dismiss people at will. Around a quarter of the workforce is unemployed at some point in any year. But the jobless enjoy generous welfare benefits. They receive a small fraction of their salary from government. I think is this. We can double check. While they look for work, around 80%. They have an 80%. No. They receive a small. So it's not actually small. Around 80% of the previous wage on average. To ensure this does not deter people from finding new jobs, the Danes would like the employee to be trained and to look diligently for work. They must take further training. They're required to seek another job. I think is the only ones. Yeah, because it's not really a small fraction. 80%, it's a lot. If I can sit home without doing anything and somebody gives me 80% of my salary, great. So yeah, try to look diligently for another work. All right, let's have a look. According to passengers, the following statements are true. School pupils learn about microbiology. It overcomes preconception about scientists. Their resulting benefit are two-way. Researchers widen their scope for research topics. Programs are devised to suit their needs of pupils. I usually start from the bottom because there is always an answer in the conclusion. Look at this. While the benefits for schools are obvious, what do the researchers gain? Participation is a good addition to a CV. No. But also gives researchers the opportunity to engage with young people with their research, and in doing so, develop important communication, teamwork, and interpersonal skills. Benefits. The resulting benefits are two-way, maybe. So some participants are also keen on broadening their horizons and gaining new perspectives on pedagogy. Advice to suit their needs. Researchers widen their scope. The resulting benefits are two-way. So probably students benefit from that. Of a bright and cuddly bacteria. Melanie set to work to experiment design to illustrate. All right, let's have a look from the start. Placement of secondary schools. The program aims to ensure that interaction between third level research is about to raise motivation. It's about raising motivation among pupils, connecting them to cutting edge research. Project pupils have direct access to positive role models, change the image of scientists. PhD student microbiology school in York. So this year, the science teacher asked pupils to draw a picture of what they thought scientists looked like. All of them were eccentric. without a white coat. Parents, children were immediately smitten. Spectrum inside the children without a white coat. The summer bright back to work into shared design. While the benefits schools are obvious, so it's a two-way benefit, right? Because it's to the researchers and to the students. They learn about microbiology, it overcomes preconceptions about scientists. Yeah, so they teach them something different about scientists. All right, let's have a look. So we don't have a lot of time left. I need to rush. My study of the history, men and women start to worship. This was not men and women start doing this. Men and women start to worship gods as soon as they become recognized. Here they exhibited religious beliefs at the same time as they created works of art. These early faiths, yeah, makes sense. All right. My study, this was not simply, I think it's this. I'm going very fast because I think we spend too much time talking. Men and women start to worship gods as they become human. So far, these early faiths expressed the wonder and mystery seem to always have been an essential component of the human experience. My study of history has revealed that human beings are spiritual animals. Actually, this looks like the first one. Indeed, there is a case of arguing that Homo sapiens also Homo religion. Men and women started to worship. Yes, these early faith expressed because the component of human experience, they want to property, power, force. They serve simply because they wanted this early faith. Men and women they exhibit religious belief the same at times they created works of art. This was not simply because they wanted to propitiate powerful force they serve in the world. The faith for wonder mystery. My thing is this actually. These early faiths make sense. They might use some examples. They might thus be used. So it looks like conclusion. Some examples cited. Okay, because of these beneficial medical applications, which embryonic stem cells are valued by scientists because cells can turn to any other sort of body cells. Because of these beneficial medical applications, the lobby against is particularly regrettable. Some examples cited, they might thus be used as a treatment to replace a particular lost cell type. That makes sense. Some examples cited for possible treatment because of these beneficial medical applications. Lobby against stem cell research is particularly regrettable. Some examples are using these cells for diabetes and Parkinson's disease. So these are the beneficial, because of these beneficial. So my treatment disease requires in particular lost cells. Something like, yeah, Parkinson's disease looks right to me. All right, let's have a look. 5 minutes, not a lot of time. I started the image. Doesn't realize how important this aspect of their business is. There'll be an instant something in the instant. They will be at an instant advantage. Advantage or disadvantage? Disadvantage probably. If top manager if they don't cover this, they'll be at a disadvantage, which of course when he said no matter how much money you invest in something, in marketing, if you don't have fundamental of your business right, it's wasted money. Yeah, aspect, disadvantage, marketing, wasted. All right, let's have a look. But there has not been consumer growth in something to support ministers help co-makers drivers staffing systems development, but there's not been consumer growth in so they supported probably arrangements. I'm not sure. The something framework for Mr. Staff is something in an ad hoc is I need something with ed is fragmented. The something framework, the documentary for operating framework. Fragmented, broken into pieces. All right, 4 minutes left. Doing good, speeding up. It's published 110 research, has co-edited a major something, a major publication usually, a major has co-edited, a major has to be journal. Yeah, co-edited, and has served as a chief editor of the something archives of the interest export undertakings archives of the, I have no idea. His non-scientific something include tree planting. His non-scientific interests, he lives beside a quiet lake, within a quiet lake, beside a quiet lake. All right, let's have a look here. Journal Photo, and has served as a chief editor of the something archives of microbiology, of the treatise, of the within, of the exposed, of the undertakings, archive of the undertaking, of the expose, of the within, of the treatise, of the journal archives. Yeah, has got a major undertaking expose. There we go. That makes more sense. Expose. He exposes something. and he serves the chief editor of the journal archives. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. So it's easy to mess up. Individual humans are relatively powerless creatures. What we do as a group that has something us to take over the planet, that has allowed us, usually enabled us, allowed us, enabled us. These groupings, corporations are not part of the vast network of something, information of, interconnected. Finding points to resistance where smaller units can something up to the waves of information, where smaller units can stand up to the waves of information washing over around it. It's becoming harder all the time. Finding points of resistance where smaller units can stand up to something. Okay, good. Multiple choice, single answer. We got 2.5 minutes left. Whew, not bad. According to the writer, a student might repeat himself to write a conclusion for the essay, remind the teacher of what he has written, increase the length of the essay, emphasize the main argument. So it's just logically probably either this. Yeah, I think that makes sense. One of the challenges, so let's see something about repeating yourself. You want to clearly have an interesting time sharp or here focus on some relying on writing strategies. Old forms such as 5 paragraphs, sophisticated flexible college paper, and many of the old tricks such as using elevated language or repeating yourself so that you might meet a 10-page requirement will fail you. A student might repeat himself to, okay, so to increase the length of the essay. So they repeat themselves to get to 10 pages. Okay, fair enough. So it looks all right. To be honest, not quite happy with the reading. I think I spent a little bit too long early on kind of reasoning on the hard options and speaking to the microphone. So I apologize if it wasn't as smooth as it could be, but I think it gives you some of idea, a bit of an idea how I read it. You know, I kind of look at the first sentence of the paragraphs and fill in the blanks, and then I kind of skip around and look at the difficult words. Read everything out loud. Sometimes if the sentence is long or it's got commas, it's very easy to lose track of the grammar as well. So I almost have to back up and read the whole sentence with the commas just to get the flow of it. I would say there's about 3 words I wasn't sure about. Reorders, the second one as well, I wasn't sure about. So I think I might lose 2-3 points in reading. I'm not sure. Let's see how it turns out. Oh, we have one more question. I apologize. According to the text, which of the following contributed Britain's joining the war? Okay. It was also an opportunity to extend its colonies. The Allies would it thought the Allies would take over its colonies, so the crucial for the future of its colonies, probably this. It feared defeat of its allies would threaten its colonies, maybe. As a result, concern of long-term attitudes the French and Russian allies, with circumstances so close to Russian territory, they could not hope to maintain control of these colonies. So they're afraid they're going to lose the colonies. All right, it feared defeat of its allies. It thought the Allies would take over its colonies. Yeah, they don't want a bloody war for Israel. Look there to maintain control over these colonies without the acquiescence of France and Russia. That it could not hope. So yeah, it could not. All right, good. Let's have a look. Listening section. We're going to start with summarized spoken text. And let me put this somewhere here. Here we go. I actually like to type directly here, but in this case I won't. Yeah, still very laggy, so we're going to leave it up.
It seems to me that architecture is very much something that causes us both pleasure and trouble. I live in a part of West London where I feel that many of the streets where I live are really, really ugly, and this distresses me every time I walk to the supermarket or walk to the tube. I think, God, why did they build that? And the terrible problem with architecture is that it lasts so long. You know, if you write a bad book or do a bad play, you know, it'll have a short run and then be shelved and no one will suffer. A bad building has a serious impact for, could be hundreds of years on the people around it. And so I suppose that the book arose a little bit from a kind of frustration, almost anger, that there was so much bad architecture around. And then I realized that if you talk to architects and you say, why are buildings not more beautiful? They'll say, oh, how can you use such a word as beauty? That's a really arrogant word. No one knows what's beautiful. It's all in the eye of the beholder. And I couldn't help but think that actually, well, you know, we all tend to agree that, you know, Rome is nicer than Milton Keynes and that, you know, San Francisco has the edge over Frankfurt. And I thought, well, if we can make that sort of generalization, surely there are some things we can say about why a building works and why it doesn't. And so the book is really an attempt to suggest why architecture works when it does, and what might be going wrong when it doesn't work.
All right, so we have 10 minutes to do this. You can see my notes over here in the bottom part. Yeah, so a little bit messy. Let's try to do this in one try because the lag is so bad that I just don't have the patience. So the lecture gave information about architecture and how it can be both a pleasure and trouble. Let's wait for it to type. And I will take a picture in the meantime so I can show you guys and girls what my notes look like. All right. Oh my God. It's like skipping forward. So bad. Full stop. Done? All right. Information about Right. The speaker mentioned that many streets really ugly, architecture lasts so long. That many streets are really ugly, comma, because, so we can just add some words in between, but we're going to keep the same words in the same sequence. Because architecture lasts so long, and the next thing I wrote is bad building, hundreds of years. Like a bad building that lasts hundreds of years. Almost done. Hundreds of years. Frustration if you talk to architects. No one knows what beautiful is. Okay. Let's move this over. I've been hundreds of years. Moreover, the speaker had frustration we got 4 minutes left. Had frustration. If he was to talk to architects about beauty, we can say. No one knew what's beautiful. Because nobody knows what's beautiful. Rome is nicer. Nobody knows what beautiful. We can say what a building is. Okay. Thus, some cities like Rome are beautiful. We can say what a building is. So again, we cannot use we, me, I. We have to change to third person always. Thus, some cities like Rome, or sorry, they say Rome is nicer, are nicer, not beautiful, nicer. So, people can say what a building is. All right, and it looks like we're going over the limit. Now here, very important, the official limit is 50 to 70 words. So do not cross 70 or you'll get a lot of marks gone. I think if you write a couple words over, you lose half of your points. And if you're way over, if you're like over 75, you get 0. Okay, full stop. I have 1.5 minutes. I have to cut down one word. The lecturer. How it can be both. How it can be both. Be a pleasure and trouble. The speaker mentioned many streets are really ugly because architecture lasts so long, like a bad building that lasts hundreds of years. Moreover, the speaker had frustration if he was to talk to architects because nobody knows what's beautiful. Thus, some cities like Rome are nicer so people can say what a building is. Looks all right. Logically, it's not perfect. We don't really need to write it logically 100% as long as there's no mistakes and I'm using the words from the audio pretty much exactly as I heard them without making changes. Of course, if you need 79 because there will be a human double checking your answer, try to make it seem like it somewhat makes sense, but honestly, there's some parts missing here, so I can't really explain it properly in 70 words, to be honest. So, looks all right. I'm going to check it one more time. Yeah, it'll give me a pleasure and trouble. The speaker mentioned because architecture lasts so long, like a bad building that lasts hundreds of years. And frustration if you was to talk to architects because nobody knows what's beautiful. Thus, some cities like Rome are nicer, so people can say what a building is. All right, let's go next. And now we're going to have all the little questions, the multiple choice and all of that stuff. What are the odors associated with past events that I
mentioned? In his book,
The
Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat and Other Clinical Tales, neurologist Oliver Sacks relates the tale of a medical student who one day woke up and found that his sense of smell was so acute that like a dog he could walk around identifying people, places, and things by his sense of smell. And what a wondrous experience it was. Like a visit to another world, he said. Normally, we humans don't have a sense of smell as acute as many other animals. We tend to rely more on what we see or hear to tell us about the world. Still, our sense of smell is powerful. Most of us can detect 10,000 different odors, from cigar smoke to a chlorinated swimming pool, from curry to a city sewer. And think about how a particular odor can instantly conjure up past memories. Maybe it's fresh-cut grass that makes you think of childhood summers, or baking bread that reminds you of a special holiday.
So this is quite weird because you actually mentioned all of these. To be honest, I really have no idea. What are the odors associated with the past events? So what's an odor? Swimming pool, city sewer. He pretty much mentioned all of them, which is really weird because I wouldn't have all of these. Past event mentioned the audio, cigar smoke, odors, baking bread. So it's a smell. Fresh cut grass, city sewer. That's really weird. Really, really weird. Let's go with these two. With past events that I mentioned the audio. Cigar cities first cut. I don't think that's right, to be honest. but that's okay. Hey, what's happening? Oh, I did that. Why it's not going next? Okay, there we go. I had something in the way. Which of the following were the inspiration for the inventors of the new injection simulation kit?
At the moment, med students get very few chances to practice giving injections, with very expensive imported simulation pads being shared between 20 or so students in a class. Arjun and Jag really focused on developing a product that was accessible to all students.
With the different models right now, we have both the standard unit and the professional unit. The standard unit is for people that have access to syringes and so on and so forth. So these are usually your nursing colleges and so on. And for them, we obviously don't want to put in unnecessary material to keep the cost down for them. Our primary goal was to have something that was affordable and efficient for students. You know, being students ourselves, we knew that was important right from the get-go.
Meeting the needs and interests of large nursing education institutions. So it's accessibility because they say they only have 20 per class or something like that. So yeah, this makes a lot of sense. All right, listening, fill in the blank. So here, I don't recommend writing directly in the box.
So in a very important sense, memory is the cognitive function that stores knowledge that we've acquired through learning and perception. But also, memory is important because memory frees our behavior from control by the present stimulus environment. If you didn't have memory, all you'd be able to do is to react to whatever is currently in the environment now, whatever it is that you're experiencing. But memory allows us to respond to past events as well as events in the current stimulus environment. And memory also gives us the means to reflect on our experiences so that we plan for future encounters.
Perception. Then we have control. Make sure you write it in a way that you can read your writing, because mine was not so easy to read necessarily. Okay, all you'll be able to do was to react, and of course read the context as well, because it helps to remember sometimes the word. Whatever it is that you're experiencing, perception, control, react, experiencing, and the last one is reflect, means to reflect. Perception, control, react was to react to whatever what you're experiencing, and also gives means to reflect. Good. Let's go next. Get ready.
Experimental psychological research is conducted in a lab under controlled conditions. It attempts to rely solely on an application of research methods to understand behavior and mental processes. As an example of a psychological experiment, you might want to investigate people's perception of different tones. Specifically, you could ask the following question. Is it easier for people to discriminate one pair of tones from another depending on their frequency? To answer this, you would want to disprove the hypothesis that all tones are equally easy to discriminate.
Equally. Double L. Right, behavior, British and American spelling are both okay. Either one, just keep it consistent within the question. People's perception, we have perception again like in last question. Perception. Then we have, depending on their frequency, and all tones are equally easy. On their frequency. Lag. Frequency, and here equally. All right. Behavior, people's perception, frequency equally. Good. Next. doesn't want to go next for me. Here we go. All right, highlight correct summary. So there's a very good trick here. You're going to pay to the last 25% of the audio, and you're going to match it with the last sentence of each of the options.
In the United States, the poet Walt Whitman published a work called Democratic Vistas. This was in 1871, and I quote from that work. He's talking here about the development of a program of culture drawn out, not for a single class alone, or for the parlors or lecture rooms, but with an eye to the practical life and to the West, the working man, the facts and forms and jack planes and engines, and the broad range of the woman also, of the middle class and working strata, and with reference to the perfect equal quality of women and of a grand and powerful motherhood. So these ideas of the individual, the ordinary individual, as someone who has a right and a responsibility to an education, had begun clearly to emerge in the United States.
And responsibility to education. All right. So it talks about equality to women and the idea that ordinary individuals have a right and responsibility for education. The working man needs to learn and repair engines to expand. Women are essential for a stable home, kind of. Walt Whitman's writing for the period reflects on the notion society should open up education beyond the close of the elites and make learning accessible to working class regardless of gender, for sure. Let's double check. The regime of society may come into labor, plead women abandon their home and their duties for motherhood. No, they don't want to abandon that stuff. And here, get education when enhanced culture should rooms, parlors. Mothers support their husbands, so it has to be option 2. Boom, easy. All right.
Hey, Sally. How are you? You all right?
All right, yeah.
Look, I was wondering, did you go to Alan Johnson's lecture on globalisation yesterday?
Of course. And why weren't you there?
I had a bit of a nightmare. My alarm didn't go off and I overslept.
Oh, John, that's pathetic.
I know. Was it any good, the lecture?
Well, yeah. No, actually it was quite interesting, but it was a bit complicated. I took some notes, actually.
Fantastic.
So complicated lecture, and she took some notes. She's annoyed with him and tells him that in fact he missed a very interesting lecture. Yes, he's rather ashamed about this, but he's relieved when his friend Sally tells him that she took some notes, looks like. His friend Sally says she's sympathetic to his problem. She assures him she has taken some notes that he can borrow. She didn't say he can borrow them yet. He's sorry that he forgot to take the lecture, but she assures him the lecture was not interesting. No, it was interesting. He's rather ashamed about this, but he's relieved when his friend Sally tells him that she took some notes. Tells him that in fact he missed a very interesting lecture. Yeah, it was not interesting. I think it's option 2. Multiple choice, choose single answer. I don't care if you get it right or wrong, just don't spend more than 5 seconds after the audio.
We need a bit of stress in our lives to keep us alert, to keep us going, but we also need to have that burst of stress that then is managed and drops again. It's when stress remains high constantly that we're in real problems. And that's the real concern with the way our society is organised today, is that we put people in situations that do leave them chronically stressed.
How difficult do you feel your life is at present?
To find out if Australian families are too stressed, the longitudinal study asks behavioural science questions.
How well do you think you're coping?
In Life at One, we add some biological science. We trawl the saliva of our parents and babies for a hormone called cortisol. When we are stressed, our physical response and the emotions we feel are triggered by chemicals released in our body. First is adrenaline, providing the increased heart rate every kid needs to escape a bully. But if the threat continues, our body goes on high alert and cortisol kicks in to shut down parts of the brain.
And the things that we shut down are things like rational thinking, memories, our immune system, and a range of other things that, I guess, through evolution, our body is determined that aren't necessary to deal with the immediate trauma.
But if a child is continually stressed, constantly shutting down their memory and immune system can seriously affect the way their brain grows.
All right, there's loss of memories caused by circulating. Loss of memories, least appropriate level of cortisol. These 2 areas of brain function as if immediate as being shut down. I think that's possible, yeah. Place so much focus rational at least increase the amount of saliva produced. Yeah, this seems like it's the right one. The attitude expressed towards political staffers by this interviewer is best described as tentative, disdainful, supportive, aloof.
I think there are too many people in the federal parliament ambience at the moment who take themselves extraordinarily seriously. And that's not just politicians. It's a lot of the staff of politicians. The ministerial advisor thing has grown out of all proportion. And you get these, you see them at election times, all strutting around in Hugo Boss suits talking on mobiles. When a politician is seen on the television, all these staffers and so on, they're very self-important people usually. And they all want to be politicians when they grow up.
So he's kind of disdainful, right? He doesn't really respect them. And this is like missing word. This is where we're going to have the beep sound at the end.
The neuroendocrine system is under particular onslaught in our modern life. Not only does it serve as the conduit for our emotional life, but it is also under threat from our external environment. The amount of chemicals acting as so-called endocrine disruptors is going up by the day. These chemicals, which range from pesticides and herbicides to ingredients of plastics, which look chemically like some of the hormones in our bodies, can then bind to the receptor and cause a stimulation of the receptor, or block it so that the appropriate hormone cannot...
So it's blocking it so it cannot do its work. Let's move this out of the way. Highlight incorrect words.
I mean, it saves so much time if you just include the page numbers for any quotes that you've written down, everything. Have you been doing that?
No, I haven't actually. I've been keeping a note of the books and obviously who wrote them and their editors and things like that, but no, I haven't been keeping the actual page numbers.
Right, well, just from my own experience when I was a postgrad, I found that I just wasted so much time when I had to go back, because the thing is, you will have to revise the work that you do, and you can save so much time if you've actually got all the page numbers written down as well, because it means you can go back to the exact quote that you found and work on it there.
All right, and close. Been writing additions. They said editors. I've been just my own experience, not experiments, but sounds very similar. I just wasted rewrite precise. Quite a few words for a short question. And one more. And you see the way they speak, it's a little bit irregular, so you really have to be careful because it's easy to miss some words there.
Does that mean that you could try to figure out the connection between, or the relationship between behavior and these technological settings in such a way that you could try to create a technological setting that allowed just those types of behavior that were good? I'm intending this to be a very simple question, perhaps too simple, but that's an open question. Can you construct a technological setup so that it implies a certain type of behavior?
So you see here, I made a mistake. You can actually unclick it and select the right answer. And I know 12, 13, 14 is going to be dictation. Let's do this.
Rivers provide habitat and migration pathways for numerous aquatic species.
Migration pathways for numerous aquatic species. Hard one. Rivers provide habitat and migration pathways, I think, for numerous aquatic species. All right. Rivers provide habitat and migration pathways. Here I wrote pathway and migration pathway, but I'm pretty sure it's pathways because I didn't put an article in front. So you really have to trust yourself, because otherwise I would have written a migration pathway. Rivers provide habitat and migration pathways for numerous aquatic. Come on, come on, come on, let's go. Next, for numerous aquatic species.
Teaching assistants will receive a monthly stipend for housing.
Assistants will receive a monthly stipend for housing. Teaching assistants will receive a monthly stipend for housing. Teaching assistants, people, not assistants with CE. Teaching assistants will receive, and this is actually one of the frequently repeated dictations. We actually have it on our list. A lot of people get stuck on the word stipend, right? It's like, what? But if you actually heard it before, it's much easier. Teaching assistants will receive a monthly stipend for housing. All right, come on, come on, come on, come on. Housing, full stop. Teaching assistants will receive a monthly for housing. Full stop. Yes, go. Last one.
To gain full marks, an appropriate bibliography is required.
Marks and appropriate bibliography is required. To gain full marks, sounds like a comma, and appropriate bibliography is required. Bibliography is required. To gain full marks and appropriate. Come on, come on, come on. Let's go. Appropriate bibliography is required. Bibliography 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Shit. Couldn't do the last word. I ran out of time. As you guys can see with this lag, it's just so bad that there's nothing I can do. Literally, I typed it as soon as I heard it. Let's see. I might get, I don't know, 88, 89. So definitely going to miss a couple points in listening because of this. And multiple choice, choose multiple answers that I picked, like all of them, because I couldn't move the thing. So might be getting 87, 88 in listening potentially, and reading as well. But normally the exam is out of more than 90, so let's see, there's a high chance I actually do get 90. So let's have a look. We will get the report shortly. I'll keep you posted. So overall, guys, I hope this experience wasn't terrible. As you can see, I had crazy lag that was frustrated, but I didn't want to give up halfway through. We made it. I can always record additional things on top afterwards to help you understand how this is done. So good luck. We'll check back for the results soon. See ya. All right, and now the moment of truth. So I've been waiting for the past 2 hours. The result is finally ready. It's almost midnight, but I wanted to see the result right away so I can send it to our editor and have this video for you on YouTube the next day. So I haven't been actually nervous for quite some time, but this time I was a little bit nervous because there are some mistakes that we made that I know I made. First of all, in the reading section, there's 3 fill in the blanks that I wasn't sure about. Let's say that even if 2 of them are correct, I might lose 1 point in reading there. Reorder paragraphs, I think the second one I was also kind of rushed. I think I spent too much time explaining some of the instructions in my mindset and didn't necessarily pay attention to the time properly. So definitely might lose some points in reading. I'd estimate about 3 points, let's say. Given the lag that I had in all the writing sections, there might be some mistakes that I missed. So I would probably take another point or 2 away from there. And of course, we know that in the listening section of multiple choice, we had an issue that I couldn't go next and then it got stuck, and then I basically selected all of the answers. It was a weird question. They did say all of those things in the audio, and it's really weird because I haven't actually seen this before. Maybe I misunderstood the question, maybe I misunderstood the audio, but for sure I lost 2 points over there. And as we know in write from dictation, the very last sentence, that even though I wrote it, again with the lag in my writing, I definitely didn't finish writing the last word and I didn't put a full stop because of that. So my guess, best case scenario, would be 87 in the reading and listening section. Speaking, I think, was good enough, and maybe writing, even if I lost a point or 2 because of dictations as well, I still think it should be 90. So for the moment of truth, the big reveal, let's have a look. What is the result? All right, so what happened here? The writing section is very low, it's 65. So this is very interesting. So what that tells me is that the actual scoring system for the essay is much more strict than before. That's option number one, meaning that my whole essay pretty much probably didn't count here, right? And if we look at how many points we're missing 25 points. So that could be one of the reasons. Another reason could be the last dictation, that maybe if we didn't click submit, it maybe didn't count it. But again, that wouldn't affect just the writing section. That would affect the listening section as well. I mean, the bright side, speaking 90 out of 90, reading 90 out of 90, listening 90 out of 90. So what we learned, and this is honestly a surprise to me as well, that their system is getting super strict with the essay part. And that's even given the fact that a human being hasn't actually assessed this. This is automatic by the system. So I will have to try another mock test. Make sure to stay subscribed to this channel, and I will do more of these experiments and try to figure out what is happening in writing. And finally, on August 7th, of course, the new changes are active in the exam, are implemented, are live. We will go to the exam and we will take the test and as well present you with the tips and tricks. It's interesting, speaking 90 out of 90. And you guys remember that as I was doing it, I said, I got stuck here, I messed up here, I had a bit of a pause. And I said, you can make a lot of mistakes in speaking and still get 90. So that's quite impressive. And then of course in dictation, for sure, I know the last word didn't get typed till the end and there's no full stop. So technically I should be missing 3 points in my listening and probably 2-3 points in my reading. How come we still got 90? So the main reason is, and I talk about this all the time in different videos and with my students, and there's a webinar from one of the co-creators of the PTE exam, John de Jong, and somebody asked him basically about the different scoring and stuff like that. And at some point he says, you don't need to answer every single question correctly in PTE to score 90. You will get 90 before you answer everything correct. And of course, it depends on what questions you missed. Hey, just before you leave, one small request. We put a lot of effort, time, and money into these videos, which are totally free for you. We don't ask you anything back in return. What it would mean a lot to us if you subscribe to the channel and like the video, so it helps us in the algorithm to stay up to date and to stay motivated basically to keep making videos for you guys. And the second thing, of course, if you are preparing for the exam and you're struggling and you do need extra support, we do provide coaching online and in person. We do have our platform with mock tests that have the newest scoring already, similar to PTE. So make sure to check it in the description of the video and in the pinned comments. Send us a message with any question, leave a comment on this video of what you would like to see next. This is Alex, I'll catch you next time. Take care.